Hi everyone, it's State Representative Ashton Clemmons here in Greensboro. I'm in my backyard because my kids are inside, so hopefully I'll be able to get through this. I wanted to take a minute and talk about how schools are funded and how you can advocate for school funding right now in the middle of this crisis. A friend of mine sent me a text message a couple of nights ago, and she said, I'm with a group of moms and we know we want to advocate for school funding during this, but we don't know where to go and who to advocate to, which is a really great question. And I spent some time putting together for her where and how they could advocate. And she said, you really should share this with other people because I think other people want to know how to advocate too. And so here we are. And there's a Medium post that I will also add with this video so that you can actually click on links there to get to your different representatives to advocate. School funding is complicated in any situation. There's federal funding, state funding, and local funding. Usually, our federal funding is around 8% here in North Carolina of our total overall education spending. So the funding at the federal level usually doesn't play as big of a role, but that's not the same during this coronavirus. So we have all heard about the CARES Act, and that was the big relief package that was passed through Congress, our initial one. And in the CARES Act, our local education agencies, so our LEAs across our state, got direct appropriations of about $340 million. So that was split over all our agencies. DPI about $40 million, and then the governor got about $93 million for education. And then our state received a direct allocation of about $4 billion in the CARES funding for the state legislature to decide how that should be spent. Of that $4 billion, about $340 million went to K-12 and higher education. So that's what happened in our initial CARES funding. And I was working, as some of you know, as the chair on the COVID Education House Committee, and our initial request from the $4 billion for education was actually $699 million. So while we did get $340 million, which was an increase from what the Senate initial request was, we still know that there were a lot of unmet needs. Right now, our negotiations between the House and the Senate and the White House for our next federal relief package. The House a couple of months ago put forth the HEROES Act, which was their proposal. It includes $58 billion directly for K-12 schools. The Senate put forth the HEALS Act, which is their proposal, and it has $70 billion for K-12 schools, but only for those schools that reopen. And I know here in North Carolina and a lot across our country, there's a lot of debate about schools reopening, but whether our educators are serving our kids from their homes virtually or in buildings, there are increased needs right now. And so tying the money to whether schools are open or not does not seem to me to be in the best interest of kids. So with federal funding, who do you advocate to? So everywhere we have U.S. representatives that you can click on the link in the Medium post and put your zip code in, and it will give you the contact information of your U.S. representative. And then, of course, each state has 2 senators. So ours are Senator Burr and Senator Tillis here in North Carolina. So hopefully you will reach out and contact them, advocate for school funding, and that there be no strings attached to that school funding. So that's the federal picture. The state picture. As I said, about $4 billion was initially given to our state to appropriate. Of that $4 billion, we have about $600 million left. And additionally, we will have likely in whatever is passed, HEALS, HERO, the compromise from the federal government, a lot of that will flow through the state legislature. So it's really important that the appropriations chairs in both the House and the Senate, as well as Speaker Moore and Senator Berger, our leadership in the General Assembly, know that when that happens, we need them to prioritize funding for our schools. I meet with educators regularly, and the things I know I'm hearing about needs are PPE for students and staff, technology and devices, continuing to get broadband access to many of our children so they can actually get online while they are at home staying safe. We know that people that are reopening in Plan B here have triple the transportation costs projected because our requirements for the amount on buses has gone from 72 to 24. We know transportation is an issue where we're going to need to continue to have relief, as is school nutrition. So all of those need to be priorities when we do get our additional federal funding here to the state level. Another really important issue at the state level is how our states are funded in general. We use something here in North Carolina called average daily membership to decide how much state funding goes to a certain LEA. And what that means is that for the first 2 months, the average daily membership, which is students enrolled in a school, that amount over the first 2 months determines how much state allocation will be coming to that school and that district. So there's a lot of concern from education leaders across our state that families are having to make all kinds of different decisions right now, that this is not a normal year, that our attendance and enrollment may not look normal this year. We have people that need to stay home for health reasons who are having to look at other options. And so a big concern is what's going to happen if we have large fluctuations in ADM just for this 1 year based on coronavirus. And a lot of education leaders are advocating for holding harmless, so keeping funding stable from last year to this year, which is what I believe is the right thing. You can make your own decision about that. But however you feel about ADM should be communicated to our House and Senate education chairs, and the link to them is also in our Medium post. So we have the federal funding, the state funding, and the last piece of funding in education is county funding. County funding is where county commissioners are making decisions about money. So here in Guilford County, there were 3 counties in North Carolina actually that got a direct appropriation from the CARES Act: Guilford, Wake, and Mecklenburg, and that's based on population. In Guilford, it was $93 million. So county commissioners, if they continue to get direct allocations from the federal government, will be making decisions about those county allocations. And some of the money that's being appropriated from the state is flowing directly through our county commissions as well. So it's also important that our county commissioners know, as they make those decisions, that they are taking into consideration what is happening in our schools and that they're working with school staffs. This is true in Guilford County, but it's true in all of our counties, as county commissioners make a lot of funding decisions that impact our schools. So we have federal funding and how to advocate there, state funding and decisions, how to advocate here, and our county commissioners. What did not surprise me is that the people who took me down this path are a group of educator moms who care about their own children, and they care about the children that they serve in our schools. And if anything, I hope that this and that my conversation with them and then sharing with you helps you know how to advocate for our schools right now. But also, and maybe even more importantly, how are we going to advocate to have reimagined, stronger schools so that when we are able to be in our classrooms and love our kids and give them hugs again and let them interact and collaborate and learn together, we are also ready to understand where kids are, fill in the gaps, and project them quickly, because we know when we can get back in schools, we're going to need additional resources to catch kids up and get them moving quickly for the benefit of them and the benefit of our state. Finally, moms, I have twin kindergarteners and a 4th grader for this coming school year. So everyone take a deep breath, hang in there, find some friends you can Zoom with, and we'll all do the best we can for our children, but let's remember to advocate for all of the children in our state. My email address is ashton.clemmons@ncledge.net. It's also on the Medium post, so feel free to email me with any questions. Thanks for tuning in. Keep fighting for our schools.